Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're strapping in for something, well, pretty out there. We're looking at this amazing blend of extreme future tech, space travel, and really, really old food.
That's right. We're exploring this wild idea. What does it actually take to cook an ancient Roman meal on the moon in the future, live on camera?
Exactly. Our source material is this excerpt from what sounds like a cookbook, but it's detailing a fictional cooking show from the year 2100. It's called Moon Dish Time Travelers.
And our mission here, our deep dive, is to really pull apart the logistics, the culinary goals, and the sheer technology behind a show like this.
It's a fascinating setup, isn't it? A society that's mastered space and time decides to use it to, well, to appreciate ancient stew.
It really is. It's using the absolute pinnacle of future achievement, being on the moon, to connect with the very basics of human culture with food from millennia ago.
So you've got this high-tech backdrop used to explore something fundamental, something ancient.
Yeah, and we really need to dig into the details, the tech involved, the specific food they choose, and, importantly, the unique challenges of cooking on the moon itself.
Okay, let's get into it then. What happens when you mix a star chef, a time machine that looks like a pot, and the lunar surface?
We're diving deep into lunar astronomy. Let's go.
So first off, the setting itself just throws you. We're talking the year 2100.
Yeah, firmly planted in the future.
And the show, Moon Dish Time Travelers, it features this unnamed, but obviously very skilled, very charismatic chef.
Someone who's not just a cook, but also has to understand, zero-G physics and presumably how to operate a time machine.
And the main cooking happens right there on the moon, inside some kind of special habitat, obviously.
Which immediately ramps up the difficulty compared to, well, any cooking show on Earth. Their whole goal is preparing dishes from different times past or future. But here's the twist.
Ah, yes. Go on.
They have to use and explore unique lunar ingredients, whatever those might be.
And the location isn't just a backdrop, is it? It's core to the show's drama.
Absolutely. It's broadcast live from the moon station. And the source emphasizes the stunning views of Earth.
That contrast is powerful.
Yeah.
You've got this symbol of humankind's future, a live TV studio on the moon, focused entirely on validating our past through food.
That view of Earth, that blue marble, it's like a constant reminder of what's at stake,
Yeah.
The audience isn't just watching someone cook, they're watching this incredibly complex, probably insanely expensive operation.
Where failure isn't just like burning the stew.
Exactly. It's a failure to represent history accurately, broadcast live to potentially billions back home. Talk about high-stakes cooking.
Okay, let's circle back to that ingredient thing, the unique lunar ingredients. That part really got me thinking.
Yeah, too. Because the text doesn't spell out what they are, but just the fact that they have to use them, that implies a lot about 2100.
It means lunar settlement isn't just basic survival anymore, right? It's advanced enough to have its own food sources.
Yeah, we're probably looking at sophisticated closed-loop systems, maybe advanced hydroponics using purified lunar ice grown in processed moon rock substrate.
Or maybe something more exotic. Could unique mean like minerals only found there that add a specific taste? Or proteins grown differently in low gravity?
It's possible. The point is, whatever these ingredients are, they make every historical dish a kind of fusion.
A mix of ancient methods and futuristic lunar resources.
Precisely. It suggests a whole new concept, like lunar terroir or seleno terroir, the taste of the moon, basically.
Wow, okay. But no matter what ingredients they use or which era they visit, the fundamental problem remains the environment itself.
Right. The physics of cooking on the moon, zero gravity, the lunar terrain outside. These are constant challenges.
And they're not just visual challenges for the show, they change the actual science of cooking, don't they?
Completely. Zero-G affects heat transfer, boiling points, how ingredients mix or don't mix.
So you need some serious engineering just to make a simple stew behave like it would on Earth?
You would. It's really a test of whether human culture, represented by food, can adapt to such an alien place.
They're not just cooking. They're engineering a meal against the fundamental physics of the environment. Every stir, every chop is a feat of technology.
Yeah, controlled chaos, basically.
All right, so if you're going to cook recipes from the past, you need a way to get there, or at least get authentic information or ingredients. Enter the ChronoPot.
Yes, the ChronoPot. The source explicitly calls it the time machine.
But disguised as a cooking appliance, a high-tech pot.
Which is such a clever touch. It's not some giant, flashy machine. It's integrated into the kitchen.
It says something about their priorities, doesn't it?
Yeah,
The tool for exploring history is literally a cooking pot.
it grounds the whole endeavor. It connects the method time travel directly to the purpose culinary history. It suggests, that preserving this kind of cultural knowledge is just as important as the advanced tech itself.
Like, they've moved beyond just showing off the technology.
Mm.
It's become normal, almost domestic.
Yeah.
The pot, this thing you use to nourish, is also the thing that lets you travel through time.
And it implies they're not just observing the past. The ChronoPot lets them interact, maybe retrieve samples, or get the precise microbes needed for something like fermentation.
Okay, so for their first episode, they don't start small. Season 1, Episode 1, A Roman Feast on the Moon.
Right into the deep end. Ancient Rome.
That choice tells you a lot about the show's ambition. Roman cuisine was complex, right? Lots of infrastructure, specific flavors.
Exactly. It wasn't just rustic cooking. It immediately sets the bar high. This isn't just about nostalgia. It's about serious historical reconstruction.
And the specific dish they choose is the gusta, a Roman meatball stew.
Now, meatball stew might sound, ordinary to us, comfort food.
Yeah, but the key ingredient, the one the source highlights, is the garum sauce.
Ah, garum. Now we're talking authentic Roman flavor. And potentially challenging flavor.
Explain garum, because it's not like anything most people eat today.
No, definitely not. It was basically the Roman equivalent of soy sauce or fish sauce, but much more intense. Made from fermented fish guts, blood, whole small fish layered with salt and left in the sun for months.
Wow. So, intensely savory umami,
Mm-hmm.
and probably pretty pungent.
Extremely pungent, but used everywhere in Roman cooking. So recreating the gusta authentically means recreating that specific, powerful garum flavor.
And doing that in a sterile lunar habitat, even if the ChronoPot gets you the original recipe or starter cultures. That sounds incredibly difficult.
It's a massive challenge. They're aiming for true historical accuracy, even if the taste is strong or unfamiliar to the 2100 audience.
Which explains why they bring in an expert, Professor Lucius Cornelius.
Yes, described as a historian and culinary expert from Rome.
Wait, from Rome. As in, they use the ChronoPot to bring him forward in time.
That's the implication. He's not just a modern expert on Rome. He's the real deal, the living historical source.
So he's the ultimate taste tester, the quality control.
Precisely. The chef can't just follow a recipe. They have to satisfy someone who actually ate this food in ancient Rome.
That forces an incredible level of authenticity, doesn't it? Time travel isn't just for show. It's for sensory validation.
It is, but it also raises questions.
Like what?
Well, think about Professor Cornelius. Plucked from his time, transported 2,000 years into the future, eating familiar food, but on the moon, maybe in low gravity.
Can he really be an objective judge? His whole context is shattered. The psychological shock alone.
Exactly. That's the inherent tension. Is perfect authenticity even possible when the observer, the judge, is so radically displaced?
So the show has to grapple with that.
Yeah.
Even with perfect ingredients, the experience is futuristic.
Right. The professor becomes this living embodiment of the gap between past and future. The chef's job isn't just cooking, it's trying to bridge that impossible gap for him, sensorially.
Okay, let's get practical. How do you actually make a stew in zero-G? The source mentions the problem. How to keep food from floating away.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or maybe billion-dollar, given the setting. In zero gravity, everything we take for granted about cooking breaks down. Heat doesn't rise, so convection currents don't work the same way. Liquids try to form spheres.
So chopping vegetables means they fly everywhere. Stirring a pot is impossible.
Pretty much, unless you have specialized tech. You'd need ways to contain everything, maybe like localized artificial gravity fields near the prep surfaces, or magnetic clamps for utensils and pots.
And for the stew itself,
Yeah.
you can't just have an open pot simmering.
Absolutely not. It would have to be a sealed, probably pressurized system. Heating would need to be direct conduction or maybe induction, very carefully controlled to avoid hot spots since there's no natural circulation.
And stirring. How do you stir something dense like a stew without opening it up?
Good question. Maybe internal robotic arms, or perhaps using sound waves acoustic levitation to agitate the contents, or magnetic stirs sealed inside.
It sounds incredibly complex, trying to add that potent garum sauce. Imagine tiny droplets of super pungent fish sauce floating around the habitat.
Yeah, you'd need incredibly precise dispensers, probably working under vacuum or within sealed transfer ports. It's like cooking in a high-tech laboratory crossed with a space station.
The analogy that comes to mind is trying to do delicate cooking inside a snow globe, but everything is sticky and wants to cling to surfaces.
And the tech needed just to mimic a basic Earth kitchen stove. It
Okay.
must be phenomenal. Multi-million-dollar solutions for making meatballs stay in sauce.
And then serving it. You can't just ladle it into a bowl.
Oh, it would probably have to be extruded, maybe like toothpaste, or served in special bowls that use surface tension, or again, maybe weak magnetic fields to keep the liquid down. Eating itself becomes a technological act.
So the internal challenges are immense. But the source also highlights an external threat for the climax of this Roman episode: lunar dust infiltration.
Right. This seems to be the big dramatic moment. The chef and Professor Cornelius race against time to preserve the integrity of Roman flavors because lunar dust gets into the habitat.
Why is lunar dust so bad for Roman flavors? It's just dust, right?
But it's not like Earth dust. Lunar regolith is nasty stuff. It's incredibly fine, like flour, but also very jagged and abrasive because there's no erosion from wind or water on the moon.
Okay, so it's sharp.
Very sharp. And it's electrostatically charged from solar wind exposure, so it sticks to everything. If there's even a tiny breach in the habitat seal.
It gets everywhere.
Exactly. And it's chemically reactive. So if that fine, sharp, sticky, reactive dust gets into your carefully prepared Roman gusta...
It's not just about a gritty texture.
Far worse. Think about the garum sauce, again, complex, fermented, relies on specific microbes and pH balance. Reactive lunar dust could completely throw off that chemistry. It could change the pH, introduce weird metallic tastes, maybe even neutralize the key flavor compounds or kill the fermentation cultures if they're still active.
So the dust could literally erase the authentic Roman flavor at a molecular level.
Precisely. The fight isn't just against contamination, it's against the moon's environment chemically attacking the historical integrity of the dish.
And the source implies this happens at the worst possible moment, right? When the flavors are most vulnerable, maybe just as they're adding the garum.
It makes for great TV, doesn't it? The tension would be immense.
So how would they fix it? You can't just, wipe it down.
No way. They'd need immediate advanced countermeasures, like localized atmospheric scrubbers designed specifically for electrostatically charged particles, high-grade air filtration kicking into overdrive.
Maybe even some kind of temporary shield, like an energy field over the pot.
Possibly. Or magnetic containment if the dust has metallic components. The point is, success relies entirely on having incredibly sophisticated environmental controls ready to protect the flavor itself.
It turns a cooking show into a high-tech environmental crisis simulation.
Which brings us back to that central question, that paradox.
Yeah, why go to all this insane trouble? Time travel, lunar base, zero-G engineering, fighting off killer space dust, just for a meatball stew.
Well, connecting it to the bigger picture, it says a lot about what this future society values, doesn't it? They're using this extreme hostile environment, the moon, almost like a proving ground for human culture. Can our history, our food, survive even here?
The difficulty itself becomes a point. It validates the cultural artifact they're trying to preserve. If you can make authentic gusta here, you truly understand it.
Maybe it's also a reaction against a purely digital or simulated future. In a world where anything can be faked, maybe they crave genuine, tangible, difficult experiences to feel grounded.
Yeah, true authenticity requires confronting the original challenges, even if you do it in a completely alien context. You have to wrestle with the physics, the chemistry, the history.
And for you, the person watching or listening, this format becomes this incredible learning tool.
Right, you're not just learning about Roman food, about garum.
You're simultaneously getting insights into, orbital mechanics, material science, environmental engineering, the challenges of closed ecosystems.
All grounded in something familiar and relatable, making dinner.
It makes the abstract science real, and it makes the ancient history feel immediate and relevant to future challenges. It's high-tech meets humanity's oldest cultural expression.
But we have to come back to those unique lunar ingredients they mandate.
Yes. Because even with a perfectly retrieved recipe and a time-traveling Roman expert, the dish can't be purely historical if it includes moon stuff.
So is it still authentic? Or does adding lunar salinity or low-G proteins or whatever it is create something entirely new?
I think that's exactly the point the show is making. It becomes a new dish. The lunar gusta. It's a conversation between the past and the future, explicitly mediated by the lunar environment. They're asking, how does our culture change when we leave Earth? Can history survive off-world, and how is it transformed?
So the goal isn't just perfect replication, but understanding how culture adapts and evolves, even under the most extreme pressure imaginable, using technology to test the resilience of tradition.
Wow. We've covered a lot of ground, from Rome to the moon and back.
We really have. We dove into the ChronoPot, that amazing time-traveling cooking device,
We unpacked the sheer difficulty of making Roman gusta, especially with that intense garum sauce in a zero gravity.
and wrestled with the drama of that lunar dust trying to sabotage ancient flavors.
It paints a picture of a future where food history is treated with the seriousness of, like, particle physics. High stakes, high tech, high drama.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the wild world of moon dish time travelers.
And we'll leave you with a final thought, something to chew on maybe. If the ChronoPot allows for perfect historical accuracy, getting the Roman recipe just right, does forcing the chef to add those unique lunar ingredients actually undermine the whole point?
Does it create a kind of delicious historical lie?
Or is that fusion dish, that lunar gusta, the true representation of how human culture survives and thrives by adapting, changing, incorporating the new even as we travel to other worlds?
Something to ponder next time you look up at the moon. What might be cooking up there in the future?
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.